You know that if you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you're more likely to win the lottery? So what are you waiting for?
Cycle and the snowing of organics. Tell us a little bit more about that whole process.
That is one of the most exciting things that the Cassini mission really revealed to us is how truly complex Titan is with that methane cycle, where you get the rain coming down, collecting into really large lakes like the size of Earth's Great Lakes, filled to great depth with all this liquid methane. And it really creates that kind of weather cycle just like we have on Earth, but just without the liquid water. And I should point out that the temperature on Titan is about minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is one key difference. But even so, we have, because of that methane cycle, all those similarities that I think will make Titan look a lot like you'd experience when you're flying across the surface of Earth in an airplane.
So why is our ultimate destination this Selk crater? What do we want to see there?
Well, we're first going to land in some sand dune areas because that's a safe place to land, and also because we have a lot of science questions about them. But you're right, the ultimate goal is to get to Selk crater, which is a really large crater on Titan. It's about 50 miles across. And we want to get there because we think that at Selk crater, the three ingredients you need for life were mixed together. And that mixing is very important because when that impactor came in, it created a lot of debris and mixed them all together. So we want to get Dragonfly to that crater so we have a chance to directly investigate what happens when you mix those three things together. Because the great thing about Titan is it's very similar chemically to Earth before life evolved. And we can't go back in time on Earth and learn the lessons about the chemistry that eventually led to life. But we can go to Titan and we can pursue those questions and look at that chemistry and get a glimpse into what those conditions were like that eventually led to life on Earth.
So Selk is kind of the holy grail, but it's got more than 24 flights before it gets there. So there's a whole variety of things it's going to be getting. What are some of the other samples and things that all these great instruments are going to be taking?
We'll spend a lot of time first going over those sand dunes, which are similar to some of the dunes that you see in the Namib area in Africa on Earth. They're rather tall. They're 100, 200 meters tall. There's a few miles between each of those dunes. So what we'll do is we'll actually fly Dragonfly over one or two or three of those dunes. We'll land in a smooth, flat area between them. And that's when we can do our analyses to try to understand what are those sands made of. Are they composed of those organics that drift down from the atmosphere? Have they been modified in some way? Have they been blown for long distances? And I think that'll be a very exciting part of the mission.
So why do we call Titan an ocean world? What does that mean? And I know there's several that we call ocean worlds. How does it compare?
Yeah, ocean worlds are a really exciting development in planetary science over the past 10 or 15 years. Earth is, of course, an ocean world because we have an ocean at the surface. But on worlds beyond Earth that lack atmospheres, you don't see oceans on the surface. You typically see them below the surface, like on Europa.
You know that if you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you're more likely to win the lottery? So what are you waiting for?
What we're seeing with worlds like Titan and with Enceladus is they also have oceans below their surface. In Titan's case, perhaps 100 miles below the surface. And that has great implications for life because liquid water is one of the ingredients for life as we know it. And what Dragonfly will do is let us know if that ocean is close enough to the surface to mix with all those complex organic molecules that are falling out of the atmosphere. And if so, that means that we have more ingredients that are mixing together that could lead to life.
Well, thanks a lot, Kurt. We're starting to get a lot of questions on social media, so we're going to turn to them. If you're just tuning in, just want to point out that we're talking about a mission to Titan, Saturn's moon, that NASA has just selected today and announced. And if you want to ask a question, use the hashtag AskNASA on Facebook or Twitter, or leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching this on. So from Twitter, @TedCuriosity wants to know, what is the expected lifespan of Dragonfly?
That's a good question. Once we land, we will spend about 2.5 years flying around Titan. And we'll do, as you said, a couple dozen flights. And that will allow us to go about 180 kilometers so that we can get to Selk crater.
C3LT Games wants to know, will Dragonfly have wheels or tracks, or does it only have propellers?
It only has propellers. It has skids underneath so that we can land on those skids, but anytime we want to move, we'll be using those propellers to fly. Some of those flights will be, 8 or 9 miles long, but it could be that once we land, we decide we just want to move 10 feet in that direction or 50 feet in that direction, and we can do that as well. And that's the great beauty of dragonflies, because what we've learned when we go to other worlds is if you can move around, if you have mobility, you can learn a lot more, because there's nothing more frustrating than spending a year or 10 years trying to get somewhere, and you land and you realize, oh, I wish we were 10 feet over in that direction. Dragonfly can make that come true.
Wow. YouTube is with us, and Aura Master wants to know what rocket is going to be used to send Dragonfly to Titan.
That's a good question, and once we get closer to the launch date, we will actually take a look at what kind of performance we need, and then we will go ahead and look at what rockets are available and make a final selection. But we don't do that till we're about 3 years from the launch date.
And it's a long flight. It's like going to be about 8 years, and we're going to use a gravity assist. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to launch in 2026, and we'll get there in 2024. I'm sorry, 2034. So it is a long flight, and that's the curse of exploration in the outer solar system. It always takes a long time to get there. But we will do a gravity assist of Earth, so once Dragonfly leaves, it'll come back for one final goodbye before it heads out to Titan.
We've got one more question right now from @Jeffrey on Twitter. Is Titan geologically active?
That is a great question, and that is something that we're debating quite a bit. It's geologically active in the sense that that methane cycle in the rain is carving new rivers, it's collecting in lakes. And one of the questions we've been debating is, are there cryovolcanoes on Titan? And what I mean by cryovolcanoes, instead of erupting lava, molten rock, on places like Titan where it's so cold, the lava is replaced by liquid water. Because when you're at minus 300 degrees, water ice is like granite. And when you have a cryovolcano, that water ice gets melted and behaves like lava. And we've had a lot of debates whether or not Cassini has seen evidence of cryovolcanoes on Titan. And it's still an open debate. But what we're hoping is Dragonfly, when it gets closer to Selt Crater, will actually be able to sample some of those cryolavas from the impact and see how that liquid water is mixed with the surface materials.
Wow, this is going to be a great mission. We're going to take more questions later in the show, so keep sending them at #AskNASA. But right now, we're going to go to the Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, which is the home institution of our principal investigator of Dragonfly. And Sophia Roberts is going to start talking to her, and we're going to find out a lot more about the actual spacecraft. Here you go, Sophia.
Did you know that if you smash the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell, you're more likely to win the lottery? So what are you waiting for?